How in the hell are unvaccinated children a danger to vaccinated children if vaccines actually work? Just think about that for a moment. They're saying you've got to have your kids vaccinated, but if vaccines work, it wouldn't matter if the kids were any kids were unvaccinated, would it? This is how you know it's a depopulation plan. Stop bombing Yemen. Stop Saudi war crimes. Hold Saudi Crown Prince bin Salman accountable for human rights abuses. When that happens, you know we're getting close to the end. If you aren't an activist during this time in history, keep your mouth shut and get out of the way of those of us who are fighting your battles as well. Order followers are the people that keep the system of slavery in place. 5G installation. Guy wearing an effing hazmat radiation suit. But it's okay to put into schools and all that, yeah. Israel has no history, only a criminal record. Magnesium, the essential forgotten mineral. Magnesium is a mineral needed by every cell in your body. Foods highest in magnesium: crude rice bran, Swiss chard, porcelain, spinach, dark cocoa powder, almonds, coffee. Did you know refined grains remove 80 to 97% of magnesium? The spark of life. It creates energy in each and every cell by activating ATP, the storage molecule and the fuel that drives each cell of your body. Our bodies need the correct amount of magnesium in order to, in our diets for us to sleep properly. If it's too high or too low, we can suffer from sleep disturbance. Can magnesium deficiency cause cancer? Researchers found that 46% of the patients admitted to our intensive care unit in a Tertiary Cancer Centre presented as deficient in magnesium. In Egypt, this cancer rate was only about 10% of that in Europe and America. Among the rural population, it was practically non-existent. These cancer-free populations have an extremely high magnesium intake of 2.5 to 3 grams, which is 10 times more than in most Western countries. So magnesium is an important mineral, and of course magnesium you get into your body via Epsom salts. So if you're having a bath, half cup of Epsom salts in, stir it round, you'll get some magnesium in that way. I'm old enough to remember when paper bags were blamed for the destruction of millions of trees. Plastic bags were the solution. And now, as it turns out, hemp bags are the real solution. America's bombed 6 countries in 6 years. Iran hasn't attacked anyone in 300. Iran is not your enemy. The government is. End of the EU. Germany warns 5 more countries could leave Europe after Brexit. 5 European countries may seek to follow Britain's lead and leaving EU in a Brexit domino effect, Germany has warned. France and Netherlands, Austria, Finland, Hungary could leave. First National leader Marine Le Pen has pledged to hold a French referendum if she emerges victorious in the next year's presidential elections. While for the past 2 months a Nexit has been on the cards after Dutch voters overwhelmingly rejected Ukraine-European Union treaty. It's game over for the EU, but they aren't going to stop. NASA confesses to dousing Americans with airborne lithium and other chemicals. There's the official explanation for why NASA is spraying lithium, a pharmaceutical drug most often used to treat people with manic depression or bipolar disorder, into our ionosphere. And then there is the probable reasons. It would be easier to accept NASA's official explanation if they were not so secretive about everything they study and do in space. But one thing is for certain: NASA's own personnel have admitted that lithium, along with other chemicals, are intentionally being placed into our environment regularly. It is possible that many of NASA's own employees aren't even aware of the true motivation for carrying out such a project, ironically displaying the very behaviours that these chemicals, pharmaceuticals are meant to instill. And of course, you might say, well, how could they not know about it? The majority of people at NASA have no idea we did not go to the moon in 1969. In the first bombshell video, a NASA employee, Douglas E. Rowland at nasa.gov, admits that lithium is being sprayed into the atmosphere and says that it is harmless to the environment, although there's no studies to prove that, but you're supposed to take his word for it. Before I give you NASA's official explanation of why they are spraying psychomeds over our head, hundreds of thousands of Americans, I'd like to point out to you to some references so that you can do your own research and discover that this is no conspiracy theory. It is very real, and there is ample scientific documentation to corroborate what is put from forth here. Links to all these are in description if you want to read the full story. Again, they're using the word lazy when I'd call it vile, disgusting, too lazy. They're using this word. This is the key word for some reason. Detectives who skipped work for lashings of Chinese food and sabotaged children's abuse investigations by destroying evidence are jailed for total of almost 4 years. So it's one got 2 years, one got 18 months. Detective lovers dropped cases because they couldn't be bothered to investigate. One ignored victim had taken years to summon up the courage to report attacker. Judge says they showed contempt for victims and betrayal of the public's faith. One was jailed for 2 years today, the other for 18 months. Too vile, it says lazy, but I'm going to use vile detectives who dropped child abuse investigations so they could enjoy romantic Chinese meals together have been jailed for a total of 3.5 years. Detective Constable Sharon Patterson, 49, and her boyfriend E.C. Lee Pollard, 47, sabotaged cases involving children they were supposed to protect. Showing contempt for sex abuse victims, they found the forged documents to convince bosses to take no further action against suspects. I think there's something far, far more serious involved here. Pollard destroyed evidence about a man with disturbing sexual traits accused of assaulting an 8-year-old boy. Patterson cancelled an appointment to gather evidence for social services records so she could get a manicure and have a Chinese with Pollard. There's something far more sinister behind that story. I tell you now there is. Theresa May refuses to exclude NHS contracts from US trade deals. Theresa May has refused to rule out giving US companies access to NHS contracts as part of a future trade deal with Donald Trump's White House. At Prime Minister's question on Wednesday, the Liberal Democrat leader Vince Cable challenged May over how she would respond if Washington pushed for access to Britain's public services for US corporations. The Prime Minister knows that one of the key objects of American trade negotiations is in any further deal about Brexit is to secure access for American companies to business in the NHS. He said, can she give an absolute guarantee that in those negotiations the NHS will be excluded from their scope? And can she confirm that in her conversations with President Trump she's made it absolutely clear to him that the NHS is not for sale? And of course she refused to give a guarantee because she's already in the processes of selling the NHS off as well. UK, world's largest producer of legal cannabis, finds UN body. It is scandalous and untenable for the UK government to maintain that cannabis has no medical uses. I agree. Britain is the world's largest producer of legal cannabis. You mean there's another form? A new report from the United Nations has revealed 95 tonnes of marijuana were produced in the UK in 2016 for medical and scientific use, accounting for 44.9% of the world total. Its International Narcotics Control Board, INCB, found. The UK is also the largest exporter of the drug. Oh, well, it's a herb, but, you know. With 2.1 tonnes exported in 2016, roughly 70% of the world's total, the report stated. But May said it's got no medical benefit use whatsoever. Now you know what a lying bitch looks like. Soy found to be unfit for human consumption, and what the industry never told you about it. The chemical industry perpetually uses devious tactics to con health-seeking people into poisoning themselves. The confusion existing around fats and oils is intentional, and it is designed to prevent us from making healthy choices. The margarine scam of yesteryear presented margarine as a healthy alternative to butter. The medical establishment bought into the lie, and then it disadvantageously based an entire new business segment upon eliminating cholesterol. This began another lucrative partnership between the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which are conveniently owned by the same people. One group profits from doing the damage, and another division profits from treating the resulting diseases perpetually. Aye. City Crown champs. Pressure grows on PM to quit as support collapses. She's still got any. Heart disease deaths up for first time in 50 years. Sir Philip Green bumped off billionaires row. Am I being unreasonable? Justin Roberts on when mums want help. US woman urged to go on sex strike. BAFTA's killing it, wins best actress. Conservatives are hemorrhaging support ahead of European elections, polling experts tell. With support soaring for Farage's Brexit party, Tories demand May names date for departure, talks with Labour on brink of collapse, raising prospect of no deal exit from the EU. That's exactly what we need for the time being. The Tories must not risk driving away moderate voters for pandering to populists. Yes, they must. They've got to. The Guardian. Second Brexit referendum key to deal, says Starmer. And how they're going to fix it. Sure thing, killing Eve's genius hailed at BAFTAs. We can halt drug trade with arrests, NCA chief. Walkout threat by NHS doctors from overseas. The Times. The one who says beauty is a curse at work. Pull plug on Brexit talks with Labour, May urged. Cabinet ministers can call for more indicative votes. Electric car sales stall after cut to green grants. Executional divide. Aircraft crash and lands. Heart fatalities rise. Ships sabotage. Trump's National Day. Metro Bank numerous. Telegraph. Payout for NHS errors double in 5 years. Steep rise in waiting time for treatment is leading to blunders, says patient groups. Also the fact that they keep importing these immigrants to do the same jobs that our people could do, but they pay them more than they pay our own indigenous people. They want to pay the ultimate price, the government do. Best before revolution to target 20 billion of food waste. And Eve to remember for TV's female stars. So they're pushing the female shit again, are they? Corbyn faces pressure over new referendum. Free ATMs should be legally protected. I've given up veganism and I've never felt better. Tobacco giant hits out at legal high vaping because it's costing them a fortune. Peerless Inquisitor Brian Walden dies at 86. Fail, daily fail. Tax web giants to save High Street. Exclusive Tesco boss demand 20% business rate cut for struggling shops funded by levy on online sales. Totally adorable. Meghan cradles Archie's tootsies. Mirror. Thrilling Eve. Famine in the Yemen, child victims of a forgotten war. 120 children die every day at the bloody Middle East crisis escalates. Tories under fire for arming brutal Saudi regime being deadly blockade behind. They all want removing immediately. They are all totally and utterly corrupt. The scum. Strictly coke shock, chief in drugs rap. Jodie is killing it. Metro. Heroes at a 40 plane plunge. Drivers race to save pilot and passengers from flames. It's all about Eve, is it really? For us, let me negotiate Brexit. Express. Shock rise in heart disease deaths. Experts call for action after rates increase for first time in 50 years. To die for. Meghan posts picture of baby Archie. We covered that, as you'll see over the next few days in a cack and mac. Keely dazzled, but Eve kills TV rivals. Waste of paper star. Enders Jake, wrestler, died in front of me. Actors ringside horror. Financial Times. Man City retain Premier League. Trump Xi meeting to rescue trade according to strong possibility at G20. US economy aid upbeat. Hint comes amid tariff rises. China denies backtracking. Metro Bank explores 1 billion sale of loans caught up in accounting error. Square Mile loads up with debt to avert cash crunch. As usual, nothing but shit in the shit sheets. See you tomorrow.